In this vid, I'm going to be taking a look at a Yanmega Magnezone deck by OrangeSodaTicTac. This is currently my favorite deck in the format just because I really enjoy playing it. I really like having the draw power of Magnezone Prime, especially since we lost Uxie. The problem I have when I play a lot of other decks is I tend to draw dead for quite a while before I can get set up. With this deck, I can try and get out of Magnezone as early as possible, and then I have a draw engine throughout the game to get the rest of my game set up. I also like the little bit of skill it takes to be able to attack with Yanmega. You're not always going to have that Judge or Copycat in your hand, and really trying to figure out what cards you can play versus how much you can use your draw engine, and where that's going to leave you with your hand size at the end, I think is a pretty cool aspect of this deck. There's a lot of other things I like about this deck when I play it, but I think we'll just dive right ahead into the review. Your starting Pokemon is a single Manaphy. While I like Manaphy because it can't be donked like Cleffa can, there are a lot of other advantages to Cleffa that makes me want to choose Cleffa over Manaphy for this deck. Cleffa allows you to draw one more card, it doesn't have an energy cost, and you can always use it to try and stall your opponent by staying asleep. Manaphy is safer, but I'm afraid that you might lose a little bit of your consistency by using it having to attach an energy to use its attack and only being able to draw 5 rather than 6. Your other baby Pokemon Tyrogue is great for getting the donk on your opponent, as well as for stalling at any point during the game. However, I find that if you need extra room in the deck, the Tyrogue is an easy card to drop. Most players are using lower numbers of Cleffa or avoiding using Cleffa at all, so the chances of you being able to use it for a donk are slimmer than they used to be. So I see it being used more as a stall tactic. You run a 4-3 Yanmega Prime line. You don't necessarily need that 4th Yanmega Prime, because the 4th Yanma acts as a great starter with its free retreat, and with Rescue Energy it can easily be used to set up another Yanmega Prime later on in the game. You have a 3-1-3 Magnezone Prime line. However, with all the Pokemon Catcher running around, I would definitely increase that to a 4-2-3 Magnezone Prime line. The 4th Magnemite is going to ensure that you're going to be able to get your Magnezone set up, and the 2nd Magneton is great under Trainer Lock. You run a 1-0-1 Kingdra Prime line, relying on Rare Candy in order to evolve it. Not only is Kingdra Prime a great Donphan counter, but being able to put one more damage counter on in between turns can really turn the game into your favor. My only concern though is that you rarely ever get to use Kingdra Prime, because as soon as a Horsey is out on the field, it's an open target for Pokemon Catcher. While very useful, if you find that you need room for other cards, the Kingdra line can be dropped. I love the one Pachirisu to be able to put 2 more energy onto the field in one turn to power up Lost Burn for Magnezone Prime. Right now you're running a total of 15 energy, which I think we can reduce so that you have more room for trainers and supporters. If you decide to drop the Kingdra, you can easily drop the Rainbow energy. If you do this, I would suggest increasing your Lightning to around 10 or 11. And the Rescue energy I think you can bring down to 1 to 2. Especially with Pachirisu, I like to see more Lightning energy in this deck, so the chance of you being able to use it and use 2 Lightning rather than just being forced to stick with 1 are more likely. You run 4 Pokemon Collectors, so hopefully you'll have one in your hand for the first turn to be able to go ahead and load up your bench with basics. You max out your Judge and Copycat at 4 each to be able to equalize your hand size to attack with Yanmega Prime for free. Judge is also great from disrupting your opponent, and with your Magnezone Prime on the bench you can easily recover if you judge yourself poorly. I like that you max out your Rare Candy at 4 to be able to hopefully easily draw into 1 for your Magnezone Prime. 3 Communication are also what you need in order to get the Pokemon that you want, and you also have your Junk Arms maxed out to be able to reuse any of your trainers. Magnezone has such a heavy retreat cost, and with Catcher so prevalent, I really would recommend increasing your number of Switch to 2. With 60 cards in the deck, it can be difficult to find that one switch when you need it. You run 2 Pokemon Catcher, but I would suggest that if you can find the room, increasing it to possibly 3. More Pokemon Catcher is just going to increase the speed of your deck, especially against decks that you're going to struggle with, like Typhlosion Reshiram. Being able to bring up those Cyndaquils before they can evolve into Typhlosions is going to be critical. Another supporter I like to run in my Magnezone Prime deck is Sage's Training. It typically ensures that I can get a Magnezone Prime up by turn 2, and I can usually put things in the discard pile that I can then reuse later, like trainers for Junk Arms. I also like to run 1 Flower Shop in the deck in order to get mainly energy back later in the game. I typically use 1 or 2 early on for retreat costs, and there's always a chance that something with energy may be knocked out early on as well. I like to have access to all of my energy throughout the game for those lost burns. If you do decide to drop the Kingdra Prime, considering adding in plus power might also be a good idea. It's a little more consistent than the Kingdra since you don't have to worry about evolving it from a horsey, and still serves the same effect as its Spray Splash. You lose your Donphan counter, but hopefully with everything else working more consistently, your deck will be a little bit faster, and you can afford to lost burn 4 for a Donphan by attacking Phanpys early on. A card that I always consider putting into this deck but can never decide on whether or not to keep it in is Twins. The biggest time I find a need for Twins is when I have the Gothitelle matchup. If Gothitelle can get a turn 2 trainer lockup, I have a very hard time drawing into my Magnetons in order to be able to evolve to Magnezones. Having 1 or 2 Twins in the deck, as well as 2 Magneton, would increase the chances of me drawing into one of those 4 cards to be able to get a Magneton out. This is just something to consider if you have a high number of trainer lock decks in your area. Those are all the suggestions I have. Overall, I think this is an excellent and very consistent Magnezone Yanmega deck. If anyone else would like their deck reviewed, just PM me the list and let me know whether you'd like to be considered for a video review, which can take several weeks up to several months, or if you'd like to have immediate feedback via a blog review, which I can typically do in less than a week. Thanks for watching!